You ever hear a story so unbelievable that you'd think it was a movie scene, except it really happened in a quiet suburban neighborhood? This one's about a grandpa, a couple of fake HOA cops, and a secret he kept tucked away for decades. But before we dive in, comment below what country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. Globe showing Europe, Africa. It was a warm Saturday evening, the kind where the sun dipped low and painted the houses gold. Birds were winding down, sprinklers hissed along front lawns, and neighbors were starting to pull chairs onto their porches. On Maplewood Drive, everything seemed calm, except at the old brick house at the corner. That's where Grandpa Walter lived. Walter was the kind of man everyone respected but few really knew. 82 years old, white hair combed neatly back, denim overalls dusted from hours spent in his garden. He had a slow smile and a way of speaking that made people lean in just a little closer. But hidden beneath that calm exterior was a history most people had forgotten, years in the service, a life of discipline, and a bond with a piece of steel he'd carried since 1948, his Colt revolver. That evening, he sat at his kitchen table, sipping black coffee from a chipped mug when headlights washed across his curtains. Two men stepped out of a dark SUV. They weren't in real uniforms, more like dollar store imitations, black caps, shiny badges that didn't quite catch the light right? On their vests, big letters, HOA security. Now Walter didn't even belong to the neighborhood HOA. His house was there long before the board was. But these men didn't knock. They stormed up his porch like they owned the place. One of them pounded on the screen door. Sir, we're conducting an inspection. Open up. Walter raised his brow. Inspection? At 8 o'clock at night? The taller man leaned closer to the glass, eyes sharp. Rules are rules. Our rules. Either let us in or we'll come in ourselves. Inside, the clock ticked louder. Walter didn't move. He just studied them, calm as a man waiting on the weather. From the living room, his granddaughter, Emma, who was visiting for the weekend, peeked out. She whispered, Grandpa, something's not right. They don't look like real officers. Walter's hand brushed hers gently. Stay behind me, darling. This isn't their house. The men grew impatient. One tugged on the door handle. The other scanned the driveway as if looking for cameras, and that's when Walter stood, slow but steady, his steps echoing on the wooden floor. He opened the cabinet by the window, the one no one ever touched, and pulled out a cloth-wrapped bundle. Emma gasped softly. Out came the Colt, the same revolver he'd carried through the hardest years of his youth. He checked the cylinder. Click. 6 rounds. Still loaded. Outside, the men shoved harder on the screen door. A last warning, old man. Walter didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He stepped onto the porch, revolver resting steady in his grip, eyes locked on theirs. Boys, he said, voice gravelly but calm, I've lived here longer than you've been alive. This house doesn't open for liars. Now I suggest you step off my porch before you make the worst mistake of your life. For a second, time froze. The taller man blinked. The shorter one's bravado cracked. His voice wavered. Hey, we're just checking the rules, sir. Walter's gaze didn't move. Rules don't come with toy badges, and rules don't come knocking after dark. The men glanced at each other, nerves written across their faces. Suddenly, their confidence drained. Without another word, they stumbled back down the steps, muttering excuses, fumbling toward their SUV. Tires screeched as they sped off into the night, swallowed by the dark. The street went quiet again. Only the hum of crickets and the slow ticking of Walter's porch light remained. Emma finally exhaled, her heart pounding. Grandpa, were you really gonna? Walter slipped the Colt back into its cloth, tucking it away with care. He looked at her with a small, knowing smile. Oh, sweetheart, a loaded gun isn't for show. But sometimes it's enough to remind folks that a man's home is still his castle. She hugged him tightly, the smell of fresh coffee and garden soil lingering on his shirt. In that embrace, she realized something. Grandpa wasn't just an old man with stories. He was still the guardian of his home, carrying the weight of his past with quiet strength. And from that night on, no one on Maplewood Drive ever doubted the quiet man at the corner house again. If you enjoyed this story, hit like, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more true tales told just like this.